My immediate reaction was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm about to have 2 mini-me's. I just cried for 12 straight years going to school for the first day. How in the world do you think I'm going to go like study abroad somewhere? Funny enough, the very first day in Italy, I met my wife.
What?
If anybody asks me in the future, like, tell me a time that you experienced resilience, it's like, I mean, how much time do you have?
Hi, I'm Tony Cooper, host of the Dad Manual podcast, and I'm here today with an amazing dad who just so happens to be Max and Luca's dad. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good to see you. My name is Nick DeMarinis. I am a great dad, and I have some wisdom to share.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Nick, it's interesting because you're one of the people who, when you found out I was doing this, you instantly expressed interest. You're like, that's one of my favorite things. And we talked about it. And I was like, definitely let's get you on as a guest. What struck you about this? Like, how did this land with you? And, what have you been thinking about?
Obviously, you and I have known each other for a while. And then when I started to see some of your content around this podcast and the conversations you were having with dads about being a dad and the lessons and the manual, I thought I love that. I love the topic. I've also had to try to figure that out myself. I think I've done a pretty good job of it. And I would love to share some of that wisdom. I used to be a person that was like, I'll see if he'll ask me. And I've turned into this person who was like, no, I'm going to go pursue it. I think it's interesting. I think I have stuff to share. I know Tony. I'm just going to say, hey, man, I want to be on. I think we'd have a great chat. And that's kind of how we got here.
That's who I want on here. I want people who really give a shit about being a dad, have taken it seriously. And this is a great outlet to be able to explore that and discuss that. It's so interesting how people have been, friends of mine who are on here who are like, man, I mean, I don't know that I've ever shared what I'm sharing. It all kind of feels like brand new. So that just tells me that what we're doing here is creating an opportunity to share things that don't normally get shared and creating opportunities for people to hear things that aren't normally delivered in that way. This is some sort of, I've been thinking about it this is kind of like a virtual mentorship in a sense, because, who this is really for is people who are at the early part of their fathering journey. And I know you had a very interesting beginning to your fathering journey. So you're in Florida right now.
In Florida right now. Yep.
Yeah. And so take me back to having kids. Where were you? What was going on? And what was on your mind?
Yeah. So that's a wild story. But going back to your previous point for a second,
Yeah.
I feel like I've had so much to share, and it's hard. You don't actually have the chance to articulate it. And then who am I going to share that with? Just random strangers or with friends of mine? My friends would be like, yeah, I've got my own stuff figured out. But this is a format where we get to do that, and people can opt in to listening and taking some of that wisdom. And I think it's awesome. But at the same time, it can be selfish too. It's therapeutic to think about these things and structure it and share it. Is much benefit to the dad that gets to share these stories as the audience.
And you're in an interesting part of your fathering journey. You're about to take me back 8 years ago when it all began. But being 8 years into it is not the totality of it. You're just kind of at the beginning. So even at this point of your journey, what have you learned? Where have you gotten to so far? So yeah, take me back to the beginning.
Totally. Yeah. So going back even further, my parents really set a little bit of the blueprint of what it meant to me to be a parent. And that was both my mom and my dad. And my parents grew up in New York. My mom's from Washington Heights. My dad's from Flushing, Queens. They met when they were 15, married when they were 19, started having kids at 20. And I'm one of 6 children. So a very traditional Irish, Italian, Catholic family from New York, right? I was like, that's what you did. You got married young and you had a lot of kids and it was awesome. And, my mom was always someone that taught me a lot about compassion and adventure. And I'll get into how that manifested itself in specifics. And my dad was always around discipline and relationships. And between the two of them, it was holy crap, that's literally who I am. I got all of those great things for them. And I don't think it was by accident. So I was very fortunate to just grow up with incredible parents. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I didn't take that for granted. And I've always told myself that I'm not going to waste that, right? I'm going to use that and try to be the best the best father I can be. So yeah, fast forward up until 8 years ago, I'm working at LinkedIn at the time, and I'm living in Asia. I'm living in Hong Kong, me and my wife. And this is year number 6 of us living in Hong Kong. So I had moved out there with LinkedIn because when I first joined, I was like, this is going to be a global platform. I want to be a part of it as it scales globally. And they're like, yeah, we have this strategic opportunity to get into China. We want you to help us build in Hong Kong. I was like, wasn't exactly thinking Hong Kong. I was thinking more like Dublin or Sydney, but like, this is a pretty cool opportunity. I should take it. So that was like an amazing professional ride and personal ride. We were out there for 6 years, learned a ton professionally, traveled everywhere personally. And then me and my wife, we found out we were having twin boys, identical twin boys.
Mm.
So we're living in Hong Kong, family's 8,000 miles away. And we're just like, my wife's freaking out. I was kind of like, I was just pumped. My immediate reaction was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, I'm about to have 2 mini me's. Like, this is great. But then it was like, then it was shortly countered by like, holy crap, like, what the hell am I going to do? But then it was back to like excitement. I think that was like validation for myself of like, I knew I wanted to be a father. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to have 2 at the same time, which is going to be wild. And me and my wife, we always had this adventurous lifestyle. Like, we moved across countries, we've done crazy things. This is very on brand for us to have twins, while we're living in Asia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's high level shit.
that was wild. That was wild. Yeah.
I mean, so you were talking about what a great upbringing you had. So is that what set you up for always wanting to be a dad? Or how did you know you were so wired to do that?
I think, seeing how active and present my parents were and how much joy they got out of raising their kids, I think was something that I was able to see firsthand. Like, my mom was a teacher at our school. She drove us to all the school programs and the sports teams, and they loved being parents. And my dad was always very involved, even though he traveled a lot for work, but he was the coach of my baseball team. He would go out and shoot hoops with me. And that's what I knew. And that's not everybody, but I saw that. And I was like, as I got older, I started to appreciate like what they did for me, how much they enjoyed it. And I knew that I would as well. I knew that how they were a parent to me is something that I'd want to be. And even as I had little cousins, I loved kind of taking care of them and seeing them grow and seeing them learn. And then it was something professionally that ticked for me when I went from being an individual contributor to a manager. Graded me like a solid B for a salesperson. I was pretty good, but I was never like amazing, and I wasn't bad, but I was pretty good. But I really cared about how the team winning and like how others did and all of us. And when I got into management, that was like my secret unlock. It was like, I thrive on other people finding success and finding their true potential. Even early on, I learned a lot of stuff. I made mistakes like we all do, but I was like, I got enough self-awareness to know that I'm a better people leader and manager than I was an individual salesperson. Like, I have some ability to unlock because of maybe how I'm wired and how I care about my individual. So like a little bit of my upbringing, and then a little bit of like what I learned as even being a people leader and being responsible for people's potential. I was like, I'm going to be a good dad. Like, I know I am, I'm going to have to figure that out stuff. Like, I have enough humility to know, like, this is not going to just click. Right. But like, I have the confidence now. I'm going to be great at it, and when that time comes, I'll be ready and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it sounds like your parents made parenting look good to you. You're like, yeah, I want some of that. Like, those guys seem to have it dialed.
Yeah.
That's what it was like?
Oh,
especially
totally.
with 6 kids. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, because you compare to that, you're like, it puts in perspective. Like, I have a tough time with 2 kids. I'm like, my mom did it with 6. Like, like, you can figure it out, and it was hard, but it showed me what was possible,
Yeah.
and there's a part of me that was like, I always want to make them proud, right? I always want to make them proud of who I am and what I do, the person I'm becoming, and how I raise my kids. And that's one of the most important things for me too, is like how I raise my kids is, and the values we instill in them is most important. So it was like, yeah, I want to be like them and what they've did. And I have this blueprint, but also I can't fuck it up. Like, because I want to make them proud. They did it with 6 kids on like, again, a bread man and a teacher. Like, I have a pretty good job and I have 2 kids. Like, I need to nail this. Bit of the expectations I set for myself,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's a bad thing. That's kind of what works for me.
All right, then a little bit of insight into what being a kid with 5 other sibs was like. You have to project into parenting now that you know parenting. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like growing up with 5 other siblings?
I mean, is chaos, right? It was actually a little bit different because there's a 20-year gap between the youngest and the oldest. So some of the oldest were kind of off and, flying away and out of the nest, so there was less of us in the house. But I think the challenging part was that now I know in hindsight, like my parents didn't have much patience left. And like, I totally get why. Like you raise 6 kids, now you have like these 2 that are,
Yeah.
you're trying to raise like 20 years later. Like, yeah, you might lose a little bit of patience. So I think I like somehow realized that at the time of just how to manage that with them, of what I can get and what I can't. Like I wasn't able to do everything I wanted to do. I wasn't able to get the brand new Jordan shoe, but that was okay with me. It's all I knew. I just cared about like
Mhm.
my parents are here and they're present and we're learning and we're growing. And it was fun because me and my little brother, became really, really close, because we kind of grew up together and we were like this package deal, number 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And we got through it, right? We went through the high school and college and now we're all very close. All 6 of us are very, very close. And, unfortunately my mom passed away a couple years ago and that was tough for a lot of us. But and anybody that goes through a moment like that, you have to live with all the memories and all the teachings you have from your mother. And it makes you stronger in a way because you come together as just tighter than you ever been before because you've lost a finger, like you've lost a part of you.
Like a heart. I
You
mean, not just
lost,
a
yeah,
finger,
lost the
like a
heart, a
core organ
finger.
of the family. Yeah.
Yeah. And your father did too. My dad lost his best friend. That's all he knew since he was 15. So
Wow.
it teaches you
Wow.
it taught us to like, even at the older ages we are, to like, hey, remember all the great things that mom set us up in this life that we're in. And let's not take it for granted. Let's help each other out through this. And let's make sure we just pass on those principles and those values and all the good things through our kids. That's what we owe to her. That's the legacy
Right.
we want to give to her as we continue through this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, you're carrying it on. I mean, she was an incredible parent. I mean, all that got instilled in you and you're bringing it forth. So it's interesting how you said that about your mom and your dad. So your mom was compassion and adventure and your dad was discipline and relationships.
Yeah,
Those like feel like they're the yin and yang, but the yin and yang inside of each other, that those were the kind of
totally.
people they were.
Totally. I'll give you a great
Huh.
example of it. I
Yeah.
was very shy kid growing up, cried every day going to school. Every day. I was like a crybaby. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to make friends. Like I was just like this really shy kid. Get into high school, still kind of like it. My parents tricked me into going into an all boys Jesuit high school, which was also like a crazy story. Like my dad like really wanted me to go there. You go there, you set yourself up for life. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, like we're gonna make this happen. And then I go to college kind of close by, and my mom was like, you should go study abroad. Like you should get out into the world. And I was like, I just cried for 12 straight years going to school for the first day. How in the world do you think I'm gonna go like study abroad somewhere? She's like, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, and you should. And I did. I studied abroad in Italy. Funny enough, the very first day in Italy, I met my wife. Very first day.
What?
Yeah.
What?
There was another girl from my school, had a living situation. I called her after I settled in. I'm terrified. I probably just done crying of like, where am
Uh-huh.
I? I'm like, what's your living situation like? And she's like, I'm living with 5 girls. And I was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So I make my way and I meet all the girls, and I met one girl who was beautiful and tall, and it was Diana. Like we
No
met,
way.
we hung out, and I ended up being my future wife. So my mom was like, go out, explore the world. And she had so much compassion. She had friends that
Mm.
were black and white, and she loved all animals. She just has so much compassion and so much curiosity and no judgment for anything. And not to say that my dad did, but my dad was more of a, hey, go the safe path and go into finance and stay close to home and,
Mhm.
make sure you build relationships with people. And that's a good thing. He wanted a great life for me. He was a bread guy. So he was like, it was tough raising 6 guys as a bread man. So like, I'm telling you to get into finance, not because I'm controlling you. It's like, you might be able to provide differently than we did. And I don't hold any
Mhm.
of that against him. We lived a good life, but that was his intention, you know? So it was like totally this yin and yang, like discipline, climb the corporate ladder. My mom's like, go live in Italy for a while, you know?
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
dad is like, you do these things well and this will happen. And my mom's like, be open to like so many
Right.
paths and
Right.
people. And it was the way you put it, the yin and yang was beautiful because all of those things can come together.
Yeah.
They really can. And they can work in harmony, maybe not perfectly, but I think I've kind of figured out how to do that a little bit.
Yeah. And when you say bread man, you don't mean like money finance bread
Oh,
man. You mean like
true.
bread man. Yeah.
Not the breadwinner. Not like, let's get this bread. No, like
Yeah.
he sold physical bread.
A bakery guy. Yeah.
Yeah, bakery
Exactly.
guy.
Oh my God. So many incredible life lessons and leadership lessons you got from your parents. And then you also had the benefit of having four older siblings that you got to see. Now, are they parents as well? Like, did you get to see them become parents and learn from them in any
I
way?
did. Yeah, totally. My oldest brother has a son who he adopted, so I got to see, that journey for him getting to a world of adoption, and it's incredible. And I have a sister who has twin boys as well. So she was great. It's like I was calling her every day. What's it like? She's like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything. And then she also had a third son, but she has one son who has severe cerebral palsy.
Mhm.
So she's a superhero. I mean, she's
Mhm.
like, I admire her to the death, and she's just an amazing mom, and how she's raised her kids and how she's navigated through everything with a son who has severe disabilities. And she's just incredible how selfless she is, and how she taught me a lot of that, how to be just incredibly selfless, but she never feels bad for herself, right? She's like, these are the hand I was dealt, and I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to fucking
Yeah.
win, and like,
Right.
that's her
Mhm.
mentality. Then I have a
Yeah.
brother who has two boys, and he was the one that was always present. Like, let's go to the arcade. Let's have fun. Let's wrestle. I'm going to be your coach. And he was like the ultimate dad. And he taught me, like, yeah, you can have a job and a corporate job, but you can also be like incredibly present with your kids. I learned so much from
Mhm.
those guys, and
Yeah.
I've picked parts of, like
Mhm.
anything, you pick parts of like what you want that's true to you to be
Yeah.
the
So
father that I
what
wanted to
was all
be.
that? Have you distilled all that, all these
Yeah.
incredible relationships, all these incredible experiences that you're seeing? What did you, assimilate from all of that into when you stepped into being a dad? Like, were you clear about the kind of dad you wanted to become?
I was. I really was. I was clear in the sense that I want to be really present and really active and really caring with my kids. And I'm never going to let anything else sacrifice for that. Like, I'll make job decisions based on that. Like, I'll be vetting out my managers, and I'll be really clear with expectations. Like, I was really clear I wanted to be a really present dad. And funny enough, I saw an old post on LinkedIn that I posted 8 years ago. And it was wild. I wrote the post and it was like, I am very, very fortunate that I never missed a single pregnancy appointment with my wife.
Yeah.
I had a lot of pride. I didn't miss a single one. I was there with her, supporting her for every single one. And that was really
Mhm.
important to me. And that was also how I use social platforms sometimes to share. I am proud of this. And there was companies out there that can allow me to do that. And you can do it too, and that was a
Right.
message. So like, there was things that were really clear, like things like that, and how I want to raise my kids, the type of husband I wanted to be to my wife. That was always
Yeah.
really clear to me. Like, it's amazing what women go through and their bodies and everything. And I wanted to be as much as I could be there for her as possible. There was people that are like, you're taking paternity leave? Like, do you play video games for 3 months? And I was like,
Maybe.
no, maybe when they're having a bottle. But no, I'm gonna be there with my kids, but more so I'm gonna be there for my wife. Like, that's what I thought paternity leave was like. I'm being there to help my wife as much as possible.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, those things were clear to me. Like, I want to be a great husband to my wife all through the journey. I want to be a great father. I want to be really present, really active. I don't want to tell them what they should be doing. I want them to be a role model for it. So when
Mm.
they see me, they're like, hey, dad looks like he enjoys what he does at work.
Mhm.
Dad also like has fun. Like, he plays like this
Mhm.
arcade basketball and he's pretty good at it.
Mhm.
Like, he's a
Mhm.
cool dad. So
Mhm.
all of those things that are natural to me is what I want them to see. And I want them to also like take that as they grow up as like,
Right.
he never told me what I needed to do, but I saw how he did things, and that's what they can become themselves.
I really believe so much of what does get imparted to our kids comes through our actions, not our words. So being an example of the kind of a person you hope your children grow into is the greatest direction. Take me back then. So here we are. You're a million miles away, thousands of miles away from your family,
Yeah.
and you're pregnant and you got twins on the way. And then like, what happened after that?
What happened after that? So we had the twins in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong.
So we were like, okay, we're here. There's a good medical system. Like the job is good. There's good benefits. So like we're gonna have our kids here, which is kind of wild in like Chinese culture because we'd like be on the stroller, like around, and we lived in like Happy Valley, which had a lot of good fortune and a horse track. And anytime like elder Chinese women or men saw that we had like two boys, it was like, oh my gosh, like you hit the jackpot. Like, you know, so it was like kind of wild, like culturally living in
Yeah.
like parts of China. But we had good friends nearby. And the beauty of living like overseas in like an expat city is like the expat friends of yours are your family. So we had friends that were Japanese, Singaporean, Australian, and like I had friends that also had kids around the same time. So we were like really close with that group. And that helped us a lot because family wasn't too close by. So that helped us. And then, you know, we had the opportunity to move to WeWork. So like, I don't know who thought it was a good decision at like having twin boys and then being 8 months old is like, yeah, let's just completely change jobs, you know, but it
Yeah.
was a little bit of my ticket to move back to the US. You know, WeWork was
Right.
growing. Hey, you can come home. We need a strong leader in New York. We can kind of help you get back here. You're closer to home and this could be a new journey for you. And
Mhm.
that's what I did. I did 8 years at LinkedIn. So even me, I was like, I felt like I had a good run here. I had 6 years in Asia. I had basically hired my successor, like felt good about where I left it, you know, and similar thing of like a business leader versus a parent. Like you want to set up these families or these systems or these teams, you want to set them up for success. Like that's your job as a dad. And I felt like that at LinkedIn. I was like, I set this up. Like I left it in a place that was way better than I found it. Like, and I feel good about that. So let's move to WeWork. And then nothing's going to go wrong at WeWork. This place is going to be great. Let's move to New York. Yeah, it's going to be great. So then we moved to New York.
Destined for greatness, and you're still at WeWork. So
Still at
yeah,
WeWork. I mean, a
yeah.
wild journey raising the twins through the 7 or 8 years I've been there. But I mean, if anybody asks me in the future, like, tell me a time like that you experienced resilience or grit. It's like, I mean, how much time do you have? You know, I got stories for days.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome ride, kind of turning the company around and doing it without sacrificing the father and the parent that I've always wanted to be.
Right.
Part of that, what I'd say about that is what I think I've done really well is I've been very vocal and transparent and upfront with everybody that I work with about that single statement. That if it's someone I've had to get to know, hey, we're gonna do this and we're gonna know each other. I just want you to know a little bit about me. Like the best job I've ever had in this life is being a dad, and that's really important to me. And I'm still doing that, and I'm doing a pretty good job, and I'm still gonna do that.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out the rest of the stuff. So I think that that's been one of my biggest things is just being like really open with everyone I work with. That like that's the most important thing to me, and that's helped.
You know, what's really great about that, Nick, is how clear you are about your intentions. How do I want to be as a husband? How do I want to be as a father? How do I want to raise my kids? Having that intentionality is definitely a lot of the way of getting there. But on also what you're sharing is that you've been very good at setting expectations with those around you so that you can hold yourself accountable to the things that you say are important.
Totally.
And you have a mechanism of going like, I'm committed to the things that I say are important and I will continue to deliver upon those. And that's just great life lessons in general to be able to do that in relationships. But making that commitment in being a dad that's a real rare thing. You know, I think a lot of people go like, I wish I could be the dad I want, but my life kind of has created some conditions in which I can't. And you're like, no, you get to create the fucking conditions. Like that's up to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. You really do. It's not simple to do. There is a way to do that. You can create those conditions. My boss now, I've had a great relationship with him. We've had a good partnership for many years. And if I'm like, hey, I'm out Friday morning, there's a school event and I want to be there. And he's just like, of course, like, it's who you are. Like, I totally get it, you know, but he also
Right.
knows that I get my shit done, right? Like
Yeah.
I execute, I deliver, and you can't really have one without the other. Like you're
Mhm.
still We still have to execute our way through life and through our professional responsibilities, right? And there's a way to do both of those. And then if anyone says that I can't, no, you can. It just might take some maneuvering to figure that out, and extreme transparency and expectation setting up front, and maybe a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of sacrifice. I work on nights sometimes. I'm okay with that. I don't really watch series. If I watch like a TV
Mm-hmm.
show, I fall asleep. So like I'll work for an hour or two at night, but like that works for me, like you figuring out what works for you and the expectation setting and all of that. And again, not hard to do. It's not like, yeah, I got to figure it out. It's a silver bullet, but it can be figured out. There's no excuses on that.
Yeah. And it's showing up. It's showing up in the
Yeah.
way. I mean, you and I have had a lot of conversations about identity and managing identity, but it's really about the expectations you set with people and the value they perceive that you deliver to them. And so it's so easy to see with kids, like if you're showing up or not. They're like immediately reflect back. But
Yeah.
you can manage showing up a lot better when you're just focused on what's important to the other person, like your manager, like what is it they really need from me? And it's not time, and it's not like numbers of calls or whatever. It's output. It's making them look good, whatever it is. So the clearer you've gotten on that, the easier it is to be able to create space for your dad commitments.
Totally. Totally. I remember all those conversations you and I had like it was yesterday. And I still think through that lens all the time of identity, and for myself and for others. And, there's a game on the field to play as well. That's equally as important as understanding the game on the field. And that game is as a parent, it's as a professional. Like there's games out there, right? And there's a way to play it, and not in a way to like a win or lose. Like there can be multiple winners in this game, but figuring it out is also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's win-win. That's the only way to play the game. But there's
Yeah.
a scoreboard. There
Yes,
is a scoreboard, and people pay attention to that as well. So you can't not deliver on the things that are important to the game. So yeah, it is a lot to manage, and it's not easy to take all your different audiences and keep them all happy. Certainly not all at the same time. We haven't even talked about your primary market, your wife. You know? That's who you put a lot. You care the most about your identity with her.
totally. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her and I, we have such a long history, right? Like we met in college studying abroad in Italy 20 years ago, and I feel lucky because I've married my best friend. Like we love hanging out with each other. We make each other laugh. We do so many
Mm-hmm.
adventures and travel, and we're continuing to figure out just even how to parent together as well, and how we balance off each other. And like, but we'll have a little nod of like, hey, like, I'm not gonna be able to handle the situation. Can you grab this one? And like, we can kind of feed off each other on things like that. And then even just like knowing what she cares about, like Mother's Day, right? Like, I think all she wanted was, like a clean house, maybe a handwritten card from the kids, and like a nice dinner, the four of us, and it's like, that's what she would love, right? And that's what we did, right? And like there's different things that I might want for Father's Day. And even the way that we parent now, right? Like she's not an early morning person, but I started to become one. I quit drinking like 3 years ago because I decided that was doing nothing in my life. It was just becoming a drag for me. I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. It was getting me kind of working from behind. So then like a lot of times I'll get up really early and I'll go for a run at like 5:30, and then I'll get the kids' school lunch ready and get them fed for breakfast. And then she'll come down and she doesn't have to deal with any of the stuff that she would absolutely dread, you know? But then at
Mm-hmm.
night, like I don't know how to fucking cook. I'm a horrible cook. Like I can't even make scrambled eggs, but she's like good at it. And like,
Uh-huh.
so like
Yeah.
I'll work and she'll get the dinner ready and she enjoys it, but I'll do the dishes, right? Like we didn't learn that stuff overnight, but we figured out like just where we get
Yeah.
energy, what are we good at, how do we balance off each other? And it's not perfect. There's times where we're like, hey, we're not on the same page. Like we gotta kind of reset here. But through all of that, what we want is we want our kids to see that too. We want to see that mom and dad are really a team, and we're all a team. And yeah, they might not agree on everything. We see how they resolve it. And that's probably one of the most important things too, because my boys are going to one day have a partner, in their lives, and maybe they have kids too. And same way that for my parents of what I learned, I want them to learn that same thing. And I feel very lucky because I think we've been doing a pretty damn good job at it.
Yeah.
Probably not perfect, but I think we've been doing a pretty
Yeah.
good job at that between the two of us.
Yeah. So I have two kids, but they're 18 months apart. And when we had the first kid, I was like,
Irish
oh,
twins, kind of.
nah, I
Eh.
think it's 12 or so. I mean, it's like the moment it like sort of starts to become reasonable, but it's also like the unreasonable part is, Tammy got pregnant when my first was 9 months old. And if like, the thing about 9 months old is like, okay, everything's just starting to catch up with you and you're starting to get a little really blurry eyed. Not the end of the world. But what I did notice though is that when the second one came along, the math was weird because like I went from 1 to 2, but it seemed like exponentially more than 1. Like 2 seemed like way more than 1. But for you to
Yeah.
have it like at once, like to get 2 kids at once, a friend of mine says like this. He goes, well, when you're a parent, and you've got 1 kid, you can play zone defense.
Hmm.
When you get 2, you always got to go man to man.
Man.
When you get 3, you're always on the downside of a power play. When you're at 6, I don't even know. I mean, you just give up. You put them in charge, I guess. You just like,
Yeah.
I'm out. So you're instantly man to man defense. What were the challenges of having twins? Like, what was particularly difficult about it? What did you learn? How did you make it go easier over time?
Totally. It was man-to-man defense. One of our benefits was like, it's all we knew. Like we didn't have 1 kid, then have 2 more. It was just like, we didn't know what it would be like having 1 kid. And we never even had time to think about like, hey, this would be easier with 1. It was like, why would we even think that? Like, we don't have 1. We have 2. Let's live in the moment and
Yeah.
just fucking accept reality.
Solve the problems we have. Yeah.
Solve the problems we have in front of us. And there's 2 babies we have to keep alive. Let's fucking figure out how we keep them alive.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it was a lot of man-to-man defense, but every once in a while it was like, okay, I got to guard 2 players at once because she needs a break or she might, but we seldom did that, but we picked our times when we needed to. And, we had to pay for some help. We had to like, hey, we don't have like excess money laying around, but like, we think this might be an investment in just our mental sanity, and getting some sleep for a month or so. So, we had to make some decisions and make some sacrifices. One of the toughest memories I remember was that there was a point, I don't know how old they were, call it 2 months or 4 months, where they would cry uncontrollably, but they would only be soothed when she was holding both. So I would be like, give me 1 or give me both. I would try to help. And they would freak out. I don't know. They just wanted their mom, right? So like, I felt bad because I couldn't help. And then she was tired, but then she felt bad because she thought I felt bad. It was just like this circle. It was just like, everyone's fucked up right now. Like everyone, what are we? Right. But like, it felt like that lasted for a year. It probably lasted a week, So it's like, we just got through it. We just got through it. And we just kind of knew that like, this is not going to be forever. We always related it. My wife played college basketball and I played basketball. And it's like, we always did like, hey, survive and advance, almost like March Madness, like survive that round, advance to the round of 32, survive, advance to the round of 16. It was like, survive and advance. Hey, we made it to 6 months. We'd clap, go get sushi. We made it to 9 months. Like, oh my God, they're sleeping through the night. So like we celebrated a lot of those little wins along the way. And then, as you get to 1 and 2, there's different challenges, but nothing like the first year of like just trying to keep humans alive. Like that's just wild.
Yeah, I heard somewhere, I don't know how else it's celebrated, but I heard in India, like they make the biggest deal about the first birthday. Like the first birthday is the biggest celebration for your whole life. And the reason is that you're celebrating that basically no one died. And you made it through what's probably going to be the hardest year of your entire life. And after that,
Right.
So
after that, like, odds are on your side, but they weren't for the first year. So let's celebrate what you just accomplished. I'm totally on board with that. But now seeing like, I mean, they're such good friends. They argue, every sibling does, but seeing them laugh and play with each other and like, one was home from school today sick and the other went to school and like, it's almost like you pulled their arms off each other, right? Of like them being separated.
Yeah.
Like
right.
It's wild. And it's like, I don't know if they'll be that close with each other forever, right? I don't know that. And I can't force that, but I can just try to set them up in a way that I can parent them and be with them that shows them the way that that's possible, that they want that because of how we interact with each other. And they started to carry on a lot of the traits that I learned from my mom and dad. And I'll give you a story about the compassion one. There's traits that I wish they didn't carry, because like in preschool, they cried every day when they went to school. And I was like, fuck, you got that from
That's
me.
mine. I did
That's
that.
me. I'm like, Dinah, my bad. It's on me. That's on me. But then once something happened, like a year later, they started to make some headways, and we had a parent-teacher conference. The teacher goes, I want to share something really special about Max. I'm like, what is it? There was a kid that was coming in every day that was really sad and crying, and Max started to help him into school and started to help him like get through that. And the kid's 4 years old, and he was started to he recognized that like he was also having a tough time, and he helped this kid through it. And I was like bawling my eyes out. I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Like, how proud, that's the proudest moment I've ever been as a parent. Like how much compassion that my kid had for somebody else. And, my other son was like having a heated disagreement with one of my sons, and heated for me is like, this is how loud my voice gets.
Yeah.
And my other son, Luca, was like, Daddy, I think you guys just need to realize that you have different personalities, you have different bodies, and you're just maybe thinking different ways. And I was like, this 7-year-old is the voice of reason for me, But like those are two moments where I was like, holy shit, I think I'm doing okay as a parent.
Yeah.
Like they have that level of compassion and EQ to understand situations and what's going on, and for them to address it like that at such early age. I'm like, Dinah, I think we're doing all right. If nothing else happens in their lives, we think we're setting them up with the right foundation.
Yeah, and we can all acknowledge like that this generation of kids they're wired differently. There's something they're just really tapped into energetically that we just were not aware of when we were their age. What are some of the lessons of just raising twins? Like that's such an interesting, most people do not have that experience. So like what have been your takeaways? What have been learnings? What have been the hard part or wonderful parts about it?
So a couple things. The first is going back to the first year. If there's a parent out there that's going to have twins or triplets or quadruplets, like God help you. The first year for us was like, we have to be incredibly disciplined, and we can't get off of a structure. We can't have one kid feeding here, the other kid sleeping there. Like for us to be making our way through this with any amount of sanity, like we have to be really structured of when they go to bed, when they get bottles, when they swallow, like all of that. That was like the number one thing for us is like, there's a lot of things you have to do to figure things out, but all of that gets a little bit easier if you just have like as much structure and discipline as possible. So
how did that work?
Expectation setting. Hey, what do we think that looks like?
No, I mean, like, how did it work? Like, how well did it work?
Oh, how well did it work? It worked, right? It always, there's wrenches that throw it. Like, well, that kid's awake. It's like, well, we can't force him to go back to sleep, but we can force when we put them down and when we turn the lights off. There's things we can control and there's things we can't. So it worked well for us. I think it
so don't make it any harder on yourself than
don't
it
make
has
it any
to
harder
be.
on yourself. Exactly. Don't make it any harder on yourself. A lot of the similar principles led into future years. But one of the things right now that I don't do enough that I think would be advice I'd give to twin parents is like, we don't actually intentionally split them up enough. Like I'll take the boys to the diner every Saturday and Sunday morning, me and the boys, and we go every Saturday and Sunday. It's our thing. Everyone knows them. It's awesome. And then Dinah will do a lot of play dates with them and their friends throughout the week. So we do a lot of like, you take them, I take them, or we'll go together. But we don't do enough of like, I'll take Max for a day, you take Luca for the day. And allowing them just to get that one-on-one time with just one of us. And when we do it, we're like, that was awesome. Like they asked a lot of questions. Like there's just so much benefit to that. We don't do it enough. And I wish we would. So we need to we're going to try to do that more. I think there's a lot of benefit to that.
That's a really good point, Nick, because it's interesting when you have multiple kids because they tend to relate to their parents as a unit, even if they're not twins.
Yeah.
I always found when I pulled them apart and had an individual experience with one of them, it was kind of like they just had the opportunity to feel special, like a unique individual. And you're right, like their concerns, their natural concerns came out in a way that didn't, like when they were with the other person, like that somehow you had to give up some of your concerns because of the communal relationship you're having. I think that's a really good insight that you're having about that. you mentioned before that, oh yeah, I'm kind of a goofy fun dad and like I like to play, arcade basketball, PopAShot, right? But your Instagram handle is Nikki Buckets. Like you're not just a casual person in this arena. So share with me about what that is for you, when that started, and like I want you to like toot your horn here because like you accomplished some pretty crazy shit.
The content's been pretty fun. The content's been
Yeah.
fun. So I've always loved to compete. I've always been pretty athletic. I play a ton of sport. Even right now, I'm in like 5 different leagues. I play hockey on Sundays. I'm in a tennis league, which I just won. I don't want to brag, but I won the league.
What?
I play basketball on Tuesday nights. I go to a boxing gym once or twice a week, and I have like a lot of hobbies and athletic. But the PopAShot thing was interesting, right? And I've always tried to instill that in my kids of like, let's be active, let's take care of our bodies. Like that's really important. I want them to see that, It's like the foundations of life are actually simple if you think about it. It's like get good sleep, eat well, have good relationships, like take care of your body. And I've started to figure a lot more of that out, and I try to distill that down to them. But the PopAShot was interesting. I got a phone call from my sister almost 2 years ago. She's like, you have to turn on ESPN. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And I got a bunch of phone calls. So I'm like, what happened? Like who'd someone die? Did the Jets trade for a quarterback finally? Like what happened? It's like, you got to turn on ESPN. And there's this PopAShot national championship happening on ESPN, the Ocho. And I was like, I thought that was from dodgeball. I didn't even think it was a real thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it was. And I was like, holy crap. And the adventurous in me now, from when I was a kid that was not adventurous and shy crying, now I'm like, I could do anything. Right. So I was like, I'm pretty good at that. I can do that. So I email them and I'm like, hey, I want to be a part of it. They're like, hang tight, chief. We just finished national championship. Like, we'll let you know about next year. Next year comes along. We're going to have 8 qualifiers around the country, and we're going to pick the top 8 players in the country to be in the national championship. So first couple happened in California. I'm like, I'm not going to fly to California. That's kind of like irresponsible to do it for arcade basketball. But there's one in San Antonio. So I tell my wife, fly to San Antonio. She's like, you don't go there very often. I'm like, I'm going there to see if I can compete in PopAShot. And PopAShot is the OG arcade basketball game.
Yeah.
And she's like, she kind of like rolls her eyes because she's from New Jersey, but she's like, whatever makes you happy. So I go there, I fly there, I win the whole thing. Now I'm like in the national championship. So fast forward like 8 months later, I'm on ESPN. I'm in Orlando. They fly me there. My family, there's an arena, and I'm competing in this PopAShot national championship. And it was awesome, right? It was so much fun. I lost in the final 4, right? But it was like, not bad. Like top 4 out of like a couple 100 million people in the US. Like I want to win, but like I'm in a pretty good spot. So
Yeah.
the Instagram thing was like, people are starting to follow me, and like I'm sharing my journey. It was a nice creative outlet for me to like share the content and my journey of like being really good at arcade basketball. So I started posting more about it, and it was pretty on brand. All the guys that were in it were dads in their 40s. Like, it was very on brand of like being a dad, which again goes back to like, that is who I am. It's very real to who I am. And I can be a dad, and I can have this really cool executive level job, but I can also compete at a really high level at this thing. So I started to like create content, and I create it with my kids, and we'll create videos together, and we'll do trick shots like I made a shot over my house, and it was like, got like crazy amounts of views. And I was like, hey, I'm going to find out if there's world records. And I since then I've held 2 world records. And it's like, what? Like,
it was like most consecutive shots and furthest, right? Are those
most
the 2?
consecutive PopAShots made in a row, 232. So I was shooting for 5 straight minutes. And then the longest shot ever made, I got the whole neighborhood out on the street. It was like, we're going to measure it. We had a surveyor, 103 feet. Like we're going to make it. And, even my kids now are like, they want to take videos, and we have like a private YouTube channel, right? And they put videos on there, and I love that for them because they're being creative. They're thinking about like how to create a hook, how to create attention, how to create something of value that people will watch, and they have fun with it. But it's like, I'm not stupid. There's like a business side of this too. The creator economy is fucking massive. Not to say that I want to be the next Mr. Beast, but like I can't age myself out of this. I can do this for fun and see if it turns into something. And the same way I messaged you about being on this podcast, I've done the same thing with brands. I've been like, hey, brand XYZ, I know what you're doing, and I've built this brand and trust and followership of doing this. I think we should work together. And some of them don't respond, but some of them do. And like we've
Yeah.
done some pretty cool collabs. So it's been like a creative outlet, but a lot of fun. It could turn into like a real business thing. And I get to bring my kids along that journey and they
Yeah.
get to see it also. So there's just like, there's so much coolness in it.
There is, and look, also you don't just win a regional championship and go to a national championship and accomplish these massive records just by showing up. Like there's a lot of work and practice and prep. And so what I know is that your boys have watched you go through all of this. And I was actually wondering about that experience for them. You know, we talked about earlier in our conversation just about how important it is to just be an example of what you want to create in them. But what do you think the impact's
Yeah.
been like? What's the experience been like for them? What's their relationship and support of you? Because it's a really special little thing that you created that goes far beyond just the PopAShot.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things. One is I tell them a lot about how shy I was, and it's okay to be shy as well. And that I've had to learn and teach myself over time to be able to get out there, to get on stage, to compete, to be able to create these videos. And it's not easy, right? But it's okay if we just try. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
just try. That's been one thing. And then, like you said, that this doesn't happen overnight. Like, hey, like let's go outside and let's do some training. Let's do some practice. Let's just try to get better every day. Now my son will go out there and he's like, hey, can you help me on my form? And like, can we do some training? Can we practice? I think I can get a new high score. And I'm like, I think you can too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I love that they're thinking that way. And it's not always. Sometimes they're just like, I don't want to do it. I'll go inside and get my iPad. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
find that balance. You know, they have to kind of be in that zone. But also I've been able to teach them like, I can be really good at it and I've worked at it, but there's also a lot of failure still. They'd be like, Dad, but you didn't win. I'm like, I know I didn't win, you know, and it sucks. It sucks that I didn't
Mm-hmm.
win, but it was a cool experience. I learned about maybe some things that I would do different. You know, I'm going to keep trying again. And they're like, are you going to try? Are you going to try to get back into next year? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because I'm learning and
Mm-hmm.
I'm having fun. And, you know, just because I failed once doesn't mean I'm not going to try again. Like, let's do
Yeah.
it. Let's do this together. So those are the things that like I've learned. They come a little more natural to me now, but it took me a while to get there. I mean, now I get to teach them those things, which is like put yourself out there and try hard things, right? And put in the work that's going to help you get to those outcomes. And then just know that there's going to be lots of failure, but there really isn't. There's just learnings, right? And you have the
Yeah.
chance to do a lot of these things again. So let's just pick ourselves up and fucking
Right.
try again.
Yeah. And look, that might be something they do. It might not be something they do, but what they've picked up on is you can just do something. You can just take something
Yeah.
on because they knew you in a conscious way before you were doing it.
Yeah.
And then they saw you do it out of nowhere. And I think that is such a powerful lesson to deliver to your kids that like you can create whatever you want to create. You're just going to declare it in the same way that you talked about, like, I'm going to declare the kind of dad I'm going to be. I'm going to declare to my boss the availability and my priorities, and I'm going to enroll that person into it. Like you get to create whatever you want. And I think you're an incredible example of that, Nick. And it's really, really great lessons for all of us. All right, last thing before we wrap up, because it's been awesome, is just going back. And I know you've been giving some very specific advice about like brand new dad when you for twins. And so let's continue down that theme. So I
Yeah.
always like to finish up with thinking back to like the very, very early days. Like the thing is you knew what it was like when other people were being a dad. You just didn't know what it was like for you to be a dad. And then you jumped into it and you're like, oh man, there's a whole bunch of stuff I don't understand or know. And there's always something that like you learned or wish you knew along the way that did or would have made a huge difference. And I was curious, like, what is that for you? Like, what advice would you have, or what tip or insight would you provide to someone who's just starting on their fathering journey?
The advice I would give actually is applicable to someone that's just starting out or even thinking about wanting to become a father, or even like me, 8 years into the journey. I think this advice applies to all of it. And the analogy of like put on the mask on the airplane before you help others, you do have to take care of yourself first. If you want to be a great father, a great parent, a great husband, a great people leader, like you do have to find a way to take care of yourself first. And is that hard to do when you have twins that are 1 month old? Yeah, it's fucking really hard. Is it a little bit easier when they're 8? Yeah, it's a little bit easier. But I think I learned kind of after a few years of having the kids of like, I got to really figure out how I preserve my own energy and how I take care of myself so I can show up and be the best dad that I want to be. And some of those things were, whether I like it or not, to work out every day. I talked about the drinking. I never drank a
Mhm.
lot, but anytime I did have a couple beers, I was like hurting the next day. It just wasn't good for me. So I just decided I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to try to get really good sleep as much as I can. Again, a new dad's going to be like, yeah, thanks for the advice. Like new sleep, hard to do, but I'm just saying like, as you go through this, my advice is like, just being mindful of like through each of the journey, before, during, and as you go into it, like, what are the things that you can do to just take care of yourself, be the best version of yourself? And there's so many ways that can manifest to every person's individual needs, but like, that's not selfish. That's actually selfless. If you can figure out what that is to just take care of yourself and figure out what works for you, you can just be that much better for all of those other people around you, your friends, your family, your kids, your wife. Again, it's hard to do, but the more you can just try to like figure out what is it, those things that I can do to just take good care of myself, find little wins along the way of
Mhm.
what those things are, and those compound over time, and you'll thank yourself for
Yeah.
having focus on that. And I think that's really important.
It is. And when you're prioritizing your own needs for the sake of being able to have enough to give to everyone else, the oxygen mask analogy, like that's taking real responsibility. It really is. It's great. Absolutely loved our conversation, brother. Love you. This is so great. Appreciate you taking the time and sharing everything. And I'm really happy we got this time together.
Me too, man. Love you too, brother. That was awesome. Great discussion. Thank you for accepting my proactive, like, hey, I want to get all
Yeah.
this. I want to go. This is going to be
Wow.
awesome. I've loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it my mom used to always say? She goes, the worst they can say is no.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's true.
That's what my mom would
It's
say
true.
too.
Yeah. And look, I'll do anything for you. So that was an easy one. All right, brother.
Appreciate it.
Until next time.
Till next time. Thanks again.
I just want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Dad Manual Podcast and for supporting dads to become the best version of themselves as they strive to bring healing and inspiration to their families. I'm looking to grow a community of fathers who are ready to change the world, but I need your help. It's super valuable to the podcast when you like an episode, when you leave us a rating and subscribe to our YouTube channel, when you follow us on Instagram at the Dad Manual Podcast, and maybe even the most important, when you share the podcast with the dad you love. Also, you can impact what we talk about here. If you've got questions or topics you want me to explore, email them to me at dadmanualpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to answer your question on our next episode. And until next time, I'm Tony Cooper, and this is the Dad Manual Podcast.